I was thinking about how do like HR people or people normally do the research, and that is doing a yearly massive engagement survey. What is your opinion about that?
It's utterly useless.
Okay.
Genuinely, like it's such low quality data.
Yeah. And how can you make it better then?
So again, it's about doing that research around specific problems.
Yeah.
Because if you ask generic questions, you're going to get generic responses, and people like fully expect those annual surveys, and they are programmed to just, for the most, you get the extremes. You get like the super engaged, which is like brilliant, but you already knew who they were anyway. And then you've got the really disengaged. You already knew who they were anyway. Everything else is just like this grey mass in the middle that you don't really learn anything from. And there might be some interesting, like, you could take the responses, you could run it through ChatGPT and extract the key thing. You do a lot of great stuff with it, but again, it's like, it's not really telling you anything. So for me, I would just ditch those. Genuinely, I'll just ditch those recurring surveys, all of them.
So much time it costs as well to analyze all of these results.
And then what happens? Nothing happens. Have you ever been part of one of those processes where something meaningful happens on the other side, or do you just present the data?
Sometimes.
No, I do make an action plan based on the results.
Something that we're implementing now at our company is we're doing like the pulse survey, and the core metric every month is the ESAT question. Which is, by the way, different to EMPS. We need to start doing EMPS, by the way. I need to tell everyone about this.
For the same reason, EMPS is useless.
Yeah.
Completely redundant.
Yeah, I thought so already.
But the survey,
I needed to do it every time.
The survey is like different questions every time, depending on what's on our mind right now.
Yeah.
Like the survey is different every time. So it's like there is one core metric, and we use that to measure the managers, because that's part of the performance cycle.
Is it?
Month or quarter, however often we do it, like the questions are different depending on what we want to test at that point.
Ah, that's interesting.
So that is key, because if people are used to responding to the same generic questions, it becomes even more redundant. The more specific the questions can be relative to what's happening in the business at that time. Really, you want to ask questions as close to the problem as possible.
Yeah.
So surveying is great when it's timed perfectly.
Yeah.
So
or you could do like specific surveys about specific things.
This is which are much more better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay, so not once a year a survey, and then based on that make a plan, and then next year we delivered it, see if EMPS went up, and go again in the same.
I'm getting bored hearing you speak.
Yeah, exactly.
This is so
and
boring.
This is how HR traditionally does it.
I want to be definitely clear and say that I've done that before.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like you're the only one that's done that before.
Yeah, I know I have, of course.
But it's completely redundant. And yes, you do end up coming up with some top line things that you want to improve, but you don't actually understand.
No.
Again, the problem you make massive assumptions about those responses, and that's laden with bias around what we think as HR would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So, again, product UX, you'd ask those questions as close to source as possible. So you would, where you know that a friction point exists, build in surveys when you know people are going to be interacting with that program survey, so that it's relevant, it's on time, specific. You get much higher quality feedback then. The other thing that I've just recently done with some of my customers is jobs to be done interviews. I don't know if you know the jobs to be done framework, but it's really interesting. So it ignores features and benefits and like the actual stuff that we would sell and position, and focuses in on the actual problem that the end user is solving with it. And it might be wildly different. So it taps into the psychology of the end user, not the practicality. So it focuses in on, you ask weird questions like, what were you wearing when you did this? Like in a non-creepy way.
Okay.
Where were you?
Yeah.
Who was around? What had you had for breakfast that day? You start to get them. Basically, the idea of a jobs to be done interview is that you get them into the same mindset they were at the time that they experienced it. So I was doing these jobs to be done around the moment of purchase, because I wanted to understand the psychology and the motivation of people that were buying my course when they were buying it. So you can do that with anything that you're doing, but really getting into the actual psychology of people's behaviors, because surveys, they'll give you top line. And they'll actually like curate their own responses to that without actually understanding themselves their true motives. But jobs to be done interviews helps you get right underneath the skin when done well. Practically a book called Growth Levers by Matt Lerner. Matt Lerner also has a great newsletter, and Great stuff on this. He's a growth guy. So he came from the PayFit school, and he was one of the second wave of payfitters, not the first wave. Payfitters? Don't mean that. I mean PayPal. But yeah, great book. It's called Growth Levers. It's like a tiny, thin, practical manual, and there's a whole section in there with suggested questions for running jobs to be done interviews for.